Hi, my name is Ebo with Lowe's Polaris, and today we're going to talk about painting. So, a lot of things that happened over the past couple months or so, everybody was stuck inside, so a lot of people were coming to Lowe's to come buy paint from a paint desk. So, a couple of things that we just going to go through, just applicators, just different types of paint for different things, primers, just any tools and utensils you use, and then samples, and then cutting, and all that type of stuff for the sundries. So the biggest thing, the first thing when people come in, they usually have a color choice they pick out from. Now, it's either they go to a Sherwin-Williams store, or they come to our store, pick a swatch off the walls. So one of these things can be a swatch. Usually the gradients go from lightest to darkest on here to tell you the different types of shades for the colors. So the biggest thing people look into is going to be the lighting for the color they pick. How, let's say if they want a bluish gray, stuff like that. So the biggest differential on the painting would be just the lighting and any other obscure references for that. So they come in the store, they usually pick a swatch, a different color. Like I said, most people have a color in mind. The biggest thing I tell people is that you don't have to rush into a color. If it's something you're not so sure about, we have samples here, they're about $4. They cover 4x4, so you can definitely see the different types of colors you want. So I always recommend you start off with a sample. If you don't really know what you want, come back and then we can go ahead and mix the paint for you. So I got a couple paints here that are highly recommended. So this right here is the Showcase paint from Sherwin-Williams. It's really highly recommended for a lot of consumers. It's got great coverage on it. It's got great spread on it. It's 400 square feet per gallon. That's a typical for about any gallon of paint. It's really, really good stuff. It's thick paint. It's one coat paint protected for 10 years actually. The big caveat is one coat means it has to be prepared properly, but it's great paint that the consumers love friendly. So the other paint that I recommend here is Signature paint. It's going to be my workhorse. Signature is going to be just a middle line paint. It's really dependable, usually about a 2-coater. Some cases it's going to be a 1-coater. So that's another paint that we highly recommend for that. So as anything with paint, there's going to be priming too. So primers, the biggest thing with that is that if you're painting over a darker color, you want to prime it. The reason is because if you don't, you're going to be spending 3 to 4 hours painting the same wall. So priming in essence prepares you for having the ability to do less work. So I got 2 primers here. One primer here is the high hiding primer. It's going to be specifically for drastic color changes, so anything from like a light dark to like a white. So if you're going to go from white to purple, you definitely want to do a high hiding primer on it. It makes it easier for you to paint over it. And the cool thing about this stuff is that it's tintable. So tintable meaning I can tint the primer to a lighter color so you can see the different coverage on it. So if I tint it a lighter color than what you get, it'll be easy in theory for you to see what you need to finish painting and everything like that. That's a really important thing if you're painting over a dark color. So the other thing over here I have is a bonding primer. This is what I'm going to be recommend with painting furniture or anything, let's say outside or exterior projects. You're going to be worried about the elements with it, or interior. A lot of it you want it with wood. So my bonding primer here, we actually had a demo of it we used. So we actually used the bonding primer on a brick, put 3 of these together on a handle, and that's how strong it is. So it's the best bonding primer I sell. It's a really good selling point for me when I show the demo to people, because paint, the biggest difference is going to be paint and primer are really similar, but they're not the same thing. So primer is going to be more of a bonder, paint's more of a sealer. So every paint can has a little bit of primer in it technically. There's a whole lawsuit about it, no need to get in the weeds of that, but primer is very, very important for different needs and everything like that. So when you come in our store, you come in, you pick a paint can, everything like that. You want to get your applicators and everything else. So the cool thing we have here is we have a lot of kits here that come with rollers, brushes, all that type of stuff ready to go if you don't want to go ahead and pick everything you want. And outside of that, we got other stuff like the paint handy pails, we got liners, anything like that you're going to need. So the easiest way to do it is just to come in and buy a kit, have everything preset. Outside of that, if you know what you're doing, you know that Purdy makes the best product. So I got the Purdy brush here. It's just a nylon polyester brush, just basic brush you're going to use for painting just any basic wall or just any basic small project. I got the rollers here. These Purdy Dove rollers are the best rollers I sell. So they're really, really soft and they're really made for smooth finishes on the walls and everything like that. So these products here, Purdy, I highly recommend. They're the best stuff I have to applicate. And then the other thing would be frog tape. Frog tape is great tape because you can actually put it on before you paint. You put it on your wall actually 21 days before you paint it, and it still will stay there. So it's really great because it will absorb the paint and it'll make sure that you paint even lines all the way across. So frog tape is just phenomenal stuff. So as always, when you come in, pick your color, or if you're just browsing on our walls, I have different books for Sherwin-Williams and Valspar. We have different color samples, different color books. So we have the popular colors of the year from Valspar, popular colors of the year from Sherwin-Williams, and that's really it. So the biggest thing for me is when you come in, you want to paint something that you repaint my house. Just don't rush into it. Have ideas, be creative. The color choices are going to be really, really dependable on what you want from your lighting and everything like that, what room it is, the finish of it. So if you want a bedroom, it's going to be like satin or eggshell for that. If you're going to be wanting a bathroom, you want semi-gloss or satin because the moisture in the room, you don't want it to run off the walls. They're also the easiest to wipe and clean off of. So the biggest thing when you come in is even if you're not prepared, just get a basic idea. Always ask questions. We're always more than willing to help you out with it. This time we're going to be doing exterior paint and stain. So the big thing with this season right now, when it gets warmer outside, a lot of people want to go outside and redo their decks and everything like that. So I got a couple products here I'm going to showcase here, talk a little about the application of them, how to prepare properly, so you can best refinish your deck in an exterior project. So these two stuff here over here, so these are going to be Cabot deck stains and Cabot Deck Correct. Now Cabot is the #1 deck stain in America. They make great products. The biggest things on the stains are going to be the finishes. So you can do a semi-transparent finish on it, where you can actually see the wood grain on it a little bit, or a solid deck stain, which is going to be closer to paint. So solid deck stain is just a solid color on it. The semi-transparent is just going to be a wood finish over it, where you can see the wood grains a little bit more. So now, with that, before you stain your deck, you always want to prepare it properly. Now the biggest thing is going to be cleaning it. So either power wash it, or use a deck sprayer here to prepare it. So with that, we have deck cleaner from Valspar here. You pour in this little deck sprayer here, clean the whole deck off before you do it. So the biggest thing with decks is that you don't want anything prohibiting you from staining the products at all. So you want to make sure it's preparedly proper and everything like that, cleaned off, power washed, all those type of things. So I got 30-second outdoor cleaner here, but I got the Valspar deck cleaner right there. So that's great stuff on that. So to applicate it, a couple different things you can do. So you can actually use these fun little pads. So I actually was just told about this not too long ago, but these replacement deck pads are actually great because they don't soak up all the stain, and it makes it easier for you to put it on your deck. So the biggest thing on deck stain is you can use rollers just like any interior paint or exterior, but these deck pads actually make it so that you don't have to waste a lot of stain on the rollers. Because the biggest thing is that the stain will soak into the roller and it won't finish your deck all the way through, so you're wasting a little bit of deck stain. So the biggest thing for that is making sure this product here is something that you're aware of and that's something that we provide. So the product I was explaining here with this little replacement pad is just going to be this deck stain applicator. So the big thing I was saying is that a lot of people want to use rollers or just any other application, sprayers, anything like that. These actually stain applicators work great because I was saying they don't soak up a lot of paint in either the roller or whatever brush you want to use on that. So these actually work great. If you want to feel the finish on it when you ever look at it, it's really coarse on it, so it doesn't soak up all the paint on it, and you don't waste any of it. So it's really smooth. You can buy one of these handles, you screw it on, easily for you to go across your deck, just like a brush or anything like that. And it makes painting your deck stain a lot simpler and easier for you to do. So another thing with the deck stain, the biggest thing I would say is preparing your deck properly so you can stain it. Let's say you have a bad deck or anything like that. We have this product here called Deck Correct. So this is going to be a permanent finish on your deck. So if your deck is in really bad condition, you want something called Deck Correct. So this stuff is really thick. It fills in the holes really nicely. And the biggest thing on it is if you have a really bad deck, you're tired of staining it every 2 to 3 years, this is a permanent fix for it. So Deck Correct is going to be great in ideal scenarios for if you have a really bad deck or anything like that, you want to grab this stuff and go ahead. So as with any deck, the normal lifespan on it, depending on what it is, it'll tell you on the label. So all the Valspar ones say 10 years on it. That's really not the case in Ohio. Ohio, we get a lot of moisture and perspiration. So the best case scenario, you're looking at about 2 to 4 years on it. So anything like that, any deck stain you get, ballpark on that's about 2 to 4 years because of all the moisture, perspiration, all the precipitation we get in Ohio. So that's really all that I got for you. Just make sure when you're doing your deck stains this summer, prepare properly, always take your time, ask a lot of questions when you come in the store. If you've never done it before, it's okay. Exterior deck season coming up, just make sure you're prepared for it.